You know, guys, based on what we've seen so far, are there any trends we're seeing? Anything we're kind of gathering now that we're 2 games through 6 in this final?
I think we're seeing lose streaks get punished even more than we've seen up until this competition. And it makes sense considering that the players are only getting better and are only able to punish those lose streaks even more. But that means that a lot of these players who are used to going to lose streaks are in a tricky situation and may not be so familiar on how to correct going up against this level of competition.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a ton of different levels, right? Some people are used to going to lose streak. If there's more players being able to punish that, maybe fewer people will go into lose streaks, but that means that it even becomes better to go into a lose streak by its own right? So if you're the only one to do one strategy, whether it's lose streak or win streak, you're going to be better off if you do it alone. Even at a win streak, if you're the only one at 100% before round 10, it's probable that the other players aren't going to be able to beat you, because as soon as they lose, it's better for them to start to earn those interest points instead of pushing money into becoming stronger earlier in the game.
And something else I wanted to touch on that I was kind of thinking about coming into today would be, all right, how close is this going to be overall? And something that we just saw in that last game that was actually crazy and I really enjoyed, we had like 6 players that were so low in health.
Yeah.
In like the final moments there, where literally it took 3 rounds and 5 players were gone. So in those moments where the lobby might get so close and you have so many people low in health, what are the key elements there to really hold on to? Whether it's, you know, having something to elongate your round a little bit more so you get knocked out, so you stay alive a little bit longer. Whether it's focusing more on selling and buying versus your economy. Like, what are the important things to focus on when you're finding such a close lobby and a lot of people close to being eliminated at the same time?
I hate to say it, but I think that aspect of the game is the thing that players have the least agency in. You can control your economy. Do you disagree?
Yes and no. I think that some people can be a little greedier than others, like trying to save up for interest to moving into a later portion of the game. But when you're playing tournament-style competitive games, you kind of need to get every position you can get. So if there's a lot of players that are close to going out, you need to kind of min-max what you have already. So even a small upgrade can turn into 2 higher positions, even if it's between 6th and 4th. That's huge, right?
Well, we
That's
saw
huge.
Land go from, like, might be a perfect example. He went from 7th or 8th to 3rd.
I mean, that's really a testament to him sticking with a plan from the get-go and consistently using the lose streak in comparison to the others. He was also the one who did the night glaciers the best and kind of saved his money the longest. And once he kind of transferred, and this is one of the reasons why I really preferred him for this lobby, is that when he turns his win streak or his lose streak into a win streak, he really just doesn't let go at all. Like in the previous lobbies, he stopped at 35%, then he didn't lose at all. And in the game after that, he stayed at 19% and he didn't lose at all. And we saw it again.
Well, a lot to unpack here, and again, 4 games to go. So we'll see how these players adjust as we get into Game 3. All right, looks like we're going to start with an image of Archdevil here, but first, let's hear from one of our excellent commentators, Claytano.
So we have a group of really talented casters, and so when there's 2 casters that aren't actually on the stage and commentating the game, the other 2 are actually in the back, just plugged in, headphones on, listening to the other casters, trying to anticipate different plays and catching certain things that are exciting, because with Auto Chess, it is a bit of a more slow-rolling game. You can kind of see things happening as they play out, but there will be one person that's actually controlling the live feed that's going out to the viewers, and then there's another person that's trying to find maybe somebody's close to a 3-star Doom or a 3-star Pyro Captain or something like that, and trying to anticipate when players are potentially going to go out, so that way we can give the other commentators something to kind of talk about or get hyped up when something's about to happen.
They do a good job giving us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, what would we do without our co-casters there in the back, and all of the production team, really?
Yeah, no, and it's been a lot of fun here. A lot of fun here on the very first major Auto Chess event. But right now, we're looking at Archdevil and going over to Shredded, who Glacial Knight again, but this time significantly earlier than the previous game.
Yeah, for sure. We see him actually have some of the most important units in the Knights Ready, having 2 Lightblade Knights already for round 4. And it's actually kind of powerful having more AoE. If you only have a little, you kind of help your opponents just to get their spells off earlier.
Yeah.
But if you just have enough, it's actually going to do a lot of damage, even in the early game. And we often see Knight Glaciers being off of a lose streak because a lot of their 1-cost units are pretty weak in the early game. But if you do get a 2-star Lightblade Knight and a 2-star Hell Knight early, you can actually do it off a win streak. And that's clearly even better.
This round that we just saw is a perfect example of how what you're talking about, Lightblade Knight level 1, really only helps charge enemies' mana faster because, I mean, how fast that Flaming Wizard charged that Lightning Bolt, and actually used it twice in this round, really won the other player that round. Look at the items real quick. Pretty decent across the board. A lot more items for Jinsu than anyone else, but not a single Frantic Mask able to be built just yet.
Right, yeah. Pretty even across the board, some being a little bit less lucky than others. We actually see a really early 2-star Whispers here. Not one of the best units, of course, to 2-star since it's one of those weaker druids, but also has a 2-star soul. No, sorry. This is that a 2-star Soulbreaker? No, it's a 2-star Skybreaker. Thank you. I couldn't really see him there in the little middle. It's kind of a brawl going on. Everyone surrounding him, but the 2-star actually Soulbreaker is gonna finish this off for Kong, and I think this is one of the best units in the early game. It's just that magical nuke is so huge, being able to finish off units almost from 60% to 0.
Yeah, I guess the Shuriken from the Soulbreaker, what you're referring to, it's not as much damage as a Lightning Bolt from the Flaming Wizard, but a shorter cooldown, so the potential to be using it multiple times throughout a game. Back onto Shredded. He is open forting, still going the Glacial Knight, but he is committing into the lose streak. After losing 2 already, it makes perfect sense, and I'd like to see him committing to the lose streak so much earlier than he did last round.
Yeah, this is so much more focused, so much better. He's only having those Knight Glacier units in play or on the bench, as you said, so far. Besides the 2 Unicorn, but that's only really a piggy bank that you can open as soon as you have found another druid, so you can sell them off for 1 additional gold there.
Looking at Land, who actually is not open forting, though he is on a lose streak of his own. His sideboard, I don't know what his main board looks like, but his sideboard has a little bit of mishmash of opportunities. He can go Warriors, he can go Mage, he could go Goblins, I guess. And actually, that's a good upgrade, so he may not want to commit into the lose streak, considering Shredded is already going to the open fort.
Yeah, no, for sure. And his board actually looks pretty good here, all things considered. That Soulbreaker, sure, it doesn't really match any of his synergies, but it's just such a good unit in a vacuum, and really any 2-star upon that is just so good in the early game, regardless of which unit it is. But in this case, it is Soulbreaker, so it's pretty much as good as it gets.
So you saw him level up and actually sell a 1-star God of War in order to be able to buy, I believe, the Wind Ranger. So leaning towards, at least right now, a Hunter Warrior build, going up against Archdevil, and he is going to be able to turn that lose streak around. Problem is, will he be able to maintain it? His board, as you mentioned, though, does look quite strong, so there's a good possibility of that. Seiko, one of our top players so far. He's on a lose streak of his own and also leaning towards Glacial Knights.
Yeah, it does indeed seem like it. Not doing the full lose streak, trying to preserve a bit more life than Shredded, for example, by putting units in.
Yeah.
And we see this happen a lot, actually, since if Seiko does get to play against Shredded, even if he does pull all of his units out, they are gonna tie regardless on Seiko's board, and that is pretty much as bad as actually winning. Even worse, I'd say, because then you don't even get the 1 gold from winning the round.
Seiko is investing a little bit of his board into Goblins. He already has a level 2 Skybreaker, and he has a 4th on the sideboard. Is he maybe opening up the option for a Goblin gamble once again?
He could, but I do think it's a little unlikely given how late it is into the rounds. You really want to get those Goblins earlier. I think this is only because he couldn't save up until 20 gold regardless. and opening himself up to getting a little bit of a stronger board to save a little bit more life, but I assume he's going to sell those units pretty quickly, especially if he gets close to an interest point.
Well, he did just use his gold to level up, but got a nice 2-star Desperate Doctor out of it. He's going to throw that in, give the nice glacial bonus to at least the 2 backline units. But yeah, he's going to continue to buy units. It's not... Yeah. He's on a lose streak, but he's not full committing onto the economy building aspect of the lose streak, which to me seems almost a waste of his situation.
Yeah, he's trying to buy all the units that he would want in the late game here, and sure, he's not losing a terrible... He's kind of doing something in between, but at least he knows what he's standing in terms of what his game plan is. He doesn't want to... As long as he has a lose streak, right, and finds the units he needs, that egg kind of threw him off a little, because I think he was about to sell... Well, he is still selling tons of units here towards getting another interest. Even sells a Frost Knight to get another gold. And I think it's worth it to keep the egg, really. Leveling up Frost Knight to 3-star is not really worth it most of the time. It's a lot more important to get 3-star out of Hell Knight and Lightblade Knight.
Yeah, of course, and I'm glad that we were able to see him actually commit to it. A couple more units picked up, though, including a Dragon Knight, which we don't often see continue into a Glacial Knight build, but finding it around 10, it's certainly going to be a strong enough unit to be in play, and especially over a 1-star Lightblade Knight. We both established that a 3-star Lightblade Knight is a great carry, but a 1-star is not the best.
Right. No, for sure. This is just here in the meantime, I think, until he needs to maybe sell it for hitting another interest point. Even if he buys this, he's not going to lose out on any money as long as he sells it in time. Shredded actually does finish off 2 golems here, so not awful in terms of lose streaking into the creep round. It's really a testament to him not having a single 2-star before this Lightblade Knight coming together.
Yeah, he's able to find 1. He's leaving units in play, though. I feel like it looks like he's going to want to break his lose streak, and this is quite early on round 11. Usually you see people do it on round 13 or maybe all the way into round 16, but he's already at 50%, 58% HP, and 2 Hell Knights and a level 2 Lightblade Knight. It's not the worst damage on the field.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like Shred is probably the weakest at this entire lobby, and as long as you're going to continue to lose streak, right? And the most important player to look at is Seiko, which is the other lose streaker, right, in this lobby. So as long as he's has less of a good composition than Seiko, it's very likely that Shred is going to have a worse composition than all of the other players.
This is getting a little close, and actually, Chuck, we're going to see him lose his win streak. It was on 4 until this round. He's still the top-rated player in health, actually tied with Archdevil right now. And this board, though, it's kind of a fruit salad of synergies. What exactly is he going? You're right. It's actually a 3-way tie for first place, including Jinsu.
I honestly have no idea what's going on here, but he has a lot of strong units on the board. It does look like he's gonna move into Knights. I think he's gonna move into Dragon Mages.
You're a braver man than me taking any sort of guess on where he's going.
That's fair. This Hell Knight is the one that's making it a little bit weird. All of the other units kind of make sense in an Dragon Mage comp if he sells those hunters, which are free of charge.
Watching Jinsu right now, of course, a lot of AoE damage from both sides. And actually Jinsu with a... What is this? A Dragon Assassin build. It's a little unconventional, and it's not going to last until the late game. He's actually just using this to maintain an early game lead, and he has a 6-win streak. I believe that was actually his 7th win that we just witnessed, so certainly building up a good economy off of that. But this is definitely a board that is a lot easier to transition into a Dragon Mage than Chuck's.
Exactly, definitely. He's a lot more closer to getting into 6 dragons.
Also, Dragon Mage. All 3 top players are leaning towards that Kong, also Dragon Mage. This is going to be some heavy contest.
Wow. 4 Dragon Mage players all in the top of this lobby. Something you don't see too often, honestly. I think it's a testament to most of these players actually hitting their Dragon combo early, which does give him a pretty big damage boost. Also, Shadow Devil is a pretty strong unit, actually, at the beginning of being just very strong or a lot of damage in a vacuum. Where in the beginning of the early game, it's kind of hard to contest them getting their ult off. So pretty safe to play it early, but should be transitioned out of that a little later.
So Shredded, luckily for him, he was able to find the Fortune Teller, which just mitigates the damage, but already at 31 HP on round 14, a 9-round loss streak for this gentleman right here. And upgrades, they're not the worst, but you're hoping to have better upgrades than this at this state in the game with this health.
Right, yeah, I think Shredded is well on his way actually to have a pretty solid start. He does have one more round here to lose streak, and then I think it's gonna roll a bit more on 5. And when he thinks he's found enough two cost units in case of Lightblade Knight and Hell Knight, you're gonna see him level up, and that's when he's trying to move into a win streak instead of continuing to lose.
So Seiko is also going Glacial Knights, and he, I think, is in a worse position. I don't think his board is as strong as Shredded, potentially, and his loss streak is not nearly as much, and so his money isn't going to be as good. He's above 50, so it could be worse. But, again, we're seeing the Glacial Knight players be stacked up at the bottom, and they're basically fighting amongst themselves on who's going to be the one player out of them to potentially climb into a top 3 position.
Yeah, for sure. We usually see them at the bottom because it's the most safe way to play Glacial Knights, being one of the strongest tiered strategies in the game right now. And as you said, Seiko is a little bit slower on finding the units that he needs. He still has some units to switch out. Some Goblin units, I think I saw a Taboo Witcher in there also, while Shredded has a much more concise board of Knight units and Glacial units. So looking a little bit better for Shredded, and also having a longer lose streak also, just as you said.
Looking at Kong right now, one of the 4 Dragon Mage players. I wonder who's going to be the one to turn off, because you cannot share any combination, any synergy, any whatever army with this many players.
Yeah, I think you can, but it's going to be very hard to find 3-star units. Like last game, we saw 2 different Shining Dragons actually at 3-star.
Yeah.
And that is going to be impossible this game pretty much with 4 Dragon Mage units. The Dragon Mage players. And the reason that is because they don't really need any unit to get into 3-star.
Shredded, you're running out of time to consolidate your units. An egg on the field, you're going to want to take that off. You have to remove another one as well. It's going to be the Argali Knight, but a good collection of 2 stars. His board is actually looking pretty good at this point. Already down to 25 HP though, and so he is running out of time to make it like a good board, a winnable board. And ooh, that AoE from the Water Spirit alone decimated his army.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with Shredded here is that I think he rolled a little bit too much on level 5. Now he's not really going to have enough money to level up into a decent level. We see already tons of players being at level 7, the rest of them being at level 6. So I think I would like him to sell maybe one of the defectors. Thinking of more ways to actually level up to 7, because otherwise he's going to continue to lose here.
He only just hit 6. He doesn't have the money to go all the way up to 7, but a level 3 Lightblade Knight on round 17 surely is a good start. A way to get back into things. He's also going to pull in the Fortune Teller back in as well to mitigate as much damage as possible, because he's got no room for error in terms of his health bar right now. 6 units. It's definitely a lot better of a board than we just saw him on, and hopefully against Kong he can fare better.
Yeah, for sure. It does sell the defector in the end, so I like him doing that. Still looking a little grim. He's a little low on HP also in this point of the game, so actually just losing this round also against Kong is going to put him in the danger zone to being kicked out in any moment here.
10 HP before round 20. This is... It sucks because his board is actually pretty good coming off of a loss streak. It's just he's taken too much damage to get to this point, and that's where players like Land especially have really shown their ability to play from a lose streak. Shredded just doesn't seem to be at that level at this point. He does invest the money to leveling up to level 7, brings in another Glacial unit, bringing up to all 4 Glacials at this point. Maybe that attack speed bonus to the Lightblade Knight is enough, but I don't know, that previous fight was actually really not good, so I honestly don't want to...
Yeah, this is really what I was talking about, is that he stayed too long at 5. That means he didn't have enough money to go to 7. And 7 is point where you want to get to as Glacier Knights, because that enables, as you said, those 4 Glacier units, but also those 4 Knight units at the same time. And since he missed out on being 7 for 2 additional rounds, we see him here at 10%. And, well, 10% is definitely much more than 0%.
Yes.
As long as you get unlucky for 1 or 2 rounds against the top player, like Jinso here, for example, you're going to be out. So there's really no room for error, if you will.
I will say, though, his board is actually looking pretty good. He just got a level 2 Evil Knight, and he's actually 1 Hell Knight away from a level 3 Hell Knight. And so given, I don't know what his items look like right now, but he actually could, this board looks pretty strong right now at this state in the game. It's just the fact that there can be no room for error on how the board plays out considering his 10% HP. But looking at Chuck right now, still committing to not Dragon Mages, but it's still Dragon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's 3 mages.
It's 3 mages plus dragons. He might stay on 3 warriors or like a warrior front line, but we did see that mages did get a nerf at 3 mages and did get a buff at 6 mages. So this might just be the kind of first step into moving in towards that for the late game. However, he does keep that Hell Knight, and it is nice with that Dragon Knight for now. It does provide shields, at least for now.
Yeah, but I agree. It's definitely more of a transitional unit. If we can pull up the full board, I want to see what it's looking like with those Dragon Mage. Yep, still 4 Dragon Magers. Only 1 Hunter player, and that's going to be on Bomber, and Land, shockingly, actually, not going to a Glacial Knight unit. Composition. He's going for a Beast Warrior, but again, not contested. I'm surprised that we haven't seen a single Dragon Mage player pull off of it, though.
Yeah, and I mean, we can really see the one player that managed to keep their kind of setup normal, which is Jinso at this point. He's doing really well and found his 6 mages, even though they're level 1. This is a really strong setup when you get the extra burst in the early game where the units aren't high enough, doesn't have enough stars to be able to survive that burst. And we can also see with the other players, like Chuck had a 2-star Hell Knight, and I think it was Boomerang who had a 2-star Shadow Devil. So see a lot of weird units being put into the setups just because a lot of players are contending the other units that you usually play.
I like the fact that he has an early Storm Shaman, Jinsu, because he recognizes that there's a ton of other mage players, and that's only going to make Storm Shaman be like the perfect 9th slot unit to tech, or even 8th slot if you can remove one of his 2 tanks in Pyro Captain or Water Spirit.
I love that Jinso actually kept 2 Hell Knights on the board. If we go back to Jinso, we can see him staying at 29 here, so it doesn't really matter that he has these, and he's kind of keeping them away from Shredded, as well as potentially Chuck if he wants to get more of them. And Seiko also playing Glacier Knights, if I'm not mistaken, at a loose streak. So this is really the critical time for both Shredded and Seiko, and as long as this doesn't cost Jinso money, he can actually push both of them out before they get their power spike.
Seiko just took a lot of damage from Jinsu. His own Glacial Knight board is not looking great.
Ooh.
Shredded, though, 2 level 3s on the important carry knights, and his board is looking really, really good and not a moment too soon.
Yeah, this is a moment of truth for Shredded. He's at his peak here. He's not going to be able to get in the upgrades anytime soon, which means this is going to be the long and dreaded night of saving up money until he can actually get an upgrade, which is going to be at level 8. And then I think he's going to try to find his Soul Reaper. But there's a long ways to go until he can do that. So this is going to start to get scary in a couple of rounds.
Yeah. Looking back here onto Seiko, though, because his board is certainly weaker than Shredded. If you look at across all of the Glacial Knights and just the AoE from Kong, it's a lot of damage. Even the 3-star Glacial Knight can't do enough. He's going to be taking a lot more damage. He's still in this, down to 10 HP, tied with Shredded.
Yeah, and this is the thing is that he doesn't have any 3 stars on either Hell Knight or Silver Blade Knight. And if you don't have enough beef to actually survive all of these Dragon Mage players. And that's the reason why we see Seiko taking so much damage now, and Jinso actually pushing him out, keeping that 2 Hell Knights on his board. Does he still have them? Let's have a look at Jinso. Seiko is gonna, and also Chuck has a couple, like a few Hell Knights, right? He still does have him. Does Chuck still have Hell Knight? Let's have a look. He
No,
has sold
He
them.
sold it, but he replaced it with a 3-star Water Spirit, one of my favorite tanks in a mage build. The Ghost ship does come out. Heavy damage across the board on the side towards Archdevil and Chuck to see how strong his board is. Land, though, just took a bunch of damage. Shredded able to win his round. Seiko, though, in the midst of his own battle.
Yeah.
He lost it, but he doesn't take that much damage. Only takes 2 from Shredded's own opposing Glacial Knight build.
Yeah, that's really telling a story about how powerful these 3-star Knight units are. Since Shredded only has 7 units on the board, while Seiko actually has a full 8 with that 2-star Soul Reaper even. So, yeah, Seiko really hoping to survive just a while longer until round 25, and with a bit of luck, maybe he can roll down through all of his remaining money to find those, but he's so far away from any good upgrades, so it's very likely that Cycle will be the one to kind of go out here in this lobby.
Ooh, up against Land. Land's Warrior Beast build. It's a good shield at the start for his units, but no one's really fallen just yet. The Wolf Summons, though, that's going to add a little extra beef onto Land's side of the army. Shredded, though, going over to his unit. It's going to be the 3-star Lightblade Knight. Can, in fact, 1v3 once again. Pulling back to Seiko real quick. He's actually fallen a lot of units in the meantime, but the 3-star Frost Knight does look to be enough to delay the inevitable for just a little bit longer.
Seiko must be breathing a big sigh of relief here from not playing any of the other mage players, and which are 4 of them, and also Shredded actually, which is the stronger Glacial Knight players of them too. He did play against him last round, losing pretty badly, so getting into this creep round must feel nice, but what are you even gonna do? I mean, it's gonna be, you need a lot of items here, and you need to find your Hell Knight because you're way far away from Silverblade Knight.
He doesn't have a lot of money to roll down with, actually. He's staying above 10 just because the chances of finding it now aren't as much as, you know, maybe delaying it a round or two and finding it when you have more money to roll down on. Up against the neutral round, it's going to be another item pickup for a number of these guys. Actually, wait, pull that up again. Okay, that was buy XP. For a second, I thought that was money gained because that would have been a ridiculous disparity. This is the full money gain, and actually a really good lead for Jinsu. It's just your standard slope across the board down to Land in last place.
Right, yeah, Jinsu got the... Oh, wow, we see Seiko finding an ice armor, and this is the item we were talking about. This is a good way to win, especially against the other Knight players. Being a very strong item. Let's see, does he find his Hell Knight? He has rolled down a lot so far, but he hasn't found any. Is he going to sell his Desperate Doctors to find it? We'll see.
Oh, no, because he gets a level 3 Desperate Doctor, and it adds a few more bounces, and maybe that'll do enough, but it's a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth because it's not the 3-star that he wanted for the upgrade. He's up against Chuck right now, another Dragon Mage player, and the Ghost Ship comes in onto that whole collection of units, followed up by tons of AoE mage damage. A lot of units still alive, though, including the level 3 Desperate Doctor. But oh no, the Water Spirit bringing in heavy damage, but can the Frost Knight take him out? Nope, Chuck is surviving, or at least his army survives with 1 2-star source remaining. However, Seiko did enough damage to that army to not die. Still, again, he's staying alive, inch by inch.
Yeah. Seiko's really grasping hairs here. He's going to be incredibly lucky to stay alive at this point. Basically, he needs to save up money to make another go at finding the Hell Knight. But saving up money at this point where you almost kill every unit except for a single source is a little scary.
So we saw Land, we mentioned how Land had a Warrior Beast build, which is one of those builds that it can be very strong, especially if it's uncontested. But Land only has 1 3-star unit. That's one of the things that you really need to make this sort of synergy work, and that's one of the reasons why he's also in the danger zone at 12 HP on a lose streak, if I'm not mistaken, as well, facing up against Archdevil, who's not one of the top players, but the damage you can see is still very powerful. It's all going to be on to the single Wormy Boy, and it's not going to happen. But Seiko actually goes out just a couple of moments before. Land's going to lose. It's going to be enough. He's going to survive with 1 HP. Down currently in 7th place. Are those items going to help?
Yeah. Land looking in a really precarious position. He does have those 2 Marines, which is crucial to stay alive against the other Dragon Mage players. However, tons of those players actually had a 2-star Dragon Knight, and that's just so scary. That is still consistent damage. It doesn't care about those Marine units whatsoever. So I think Lan is going to be the next player to go out here. I think still Shredded is strong enough from having those 3-star knights. And he actually managed to go up to 8 also, so he's going to have his other power spike here.
What items were those?
Wow.
Onto Siren. He put some
Jinso
items.
is actually level 10 already at round 26. That is insane.
We're up against Archdevil,
Oh,
actually,
wow.
if I'm not mistaken, the second time in a row, or at least quite early into this. A good Siren ultimate is going to stop it, and maybe the level 3 Tusk champion can do enough damage, but the health is going smaller and smaller. I think it's going to be enough. I think Lant is going to stay alive. He just put some items on the Siren, and I have to assume that that was the saving grace for him.
Did you see what it was?
No.
Here we go.
Scythe of Vice. Hell yeah, boys.
Yeah, this is a very strong item. Of course, Siren doesn't really deal any skill damage, but it does get his mana back a lot quicker. And especially that activated ability of turning one unit into a penguin is ever so strong in the beginning of the round. Can take out an opponent unit like a Total Elder or a Dragonite and can be the difference between life and death.
If it hits right, it feels right. But once again, he's going to defend against Kong this time. Hopefully that Scythe of Vice, who is it going to hit? That could be big. I don't think it hit a powerful unit, because we still see the Dragonite, and I believe we still see all the other mages still alive, and that's a lot of AoE coming in. Dare I say it, this is going to be it for Land. The Siren ultimate came in just a little bit too late. It didn't delayed enough, or maybe it did. Maybe the shields are going to be enough. The Swordsman's going to start spinning once again, but he gets taken out by the Dragon Mage, and that is going to be it for our boy at Land, going out in 7th place.
Yeah, good job there by Lamb, but it did fall a little bit short there against a swath of players, which he really had a pretty bad matchup against. He only had 2 kind of Knight players to beat up on, and if you don't have a good start with Beast Warriors, it's not going to go very well. Especially when there's tons of Mage players that are already ahead of you, which does spike better in the late game, and we're almost not even there.
That's kind of like the opposite of what you expect. The Mage players are the ones that come online later, and the Beast Warrior compositions are the ones that you need to basically be snowballing from the mid game to have a chance on winning. So really just not the best situation for him. Another neutral round's coming in.
Let's have a look at the item statistics here and see what the players are going to find in terms of items. Is there going to be anything you can turn around at this point? We have...
Ooh, we see a Curious there.
Oh, that's big for Shredded, actually. Let's have a look at Shredded. We did see him go up to 8. He is rolling down now. It's trying to find Soul Reap. He does find Soul Reap at
level 2.
This is big. This is big. He's looking actually really strong now. Pretty much is his peak at this point. It's not as important to go up to 9 if you have a Berserker instead of a Defector, because you're gonna have put a lot more money into your composition, and you don't really have too much more to add in case of a Storm Shaman, for example.
Yeah, it's the Storm Shaman that I'm wanting to see because of how many Mage players there are, and actually the Storm Shaman on the opposite side of things, but the Knight Shield, they're actually not holding all the AoE damage coming out from Archdevil, but no! Who else is it but the level 3 Lightblade Knight still standing, and Shredded is still standing, has been at 10% for the longest time on an 11-round win streak once he was finally able to find those upgrades.
I do agree with you that Storm Shaman is really good against all of these mage players. However, the thing with Shredded at this point is that it's such a low life total that you can't really put in Storm Shaman until you get to level 9.
Yeah.
And that means he wouldn't be alive until then, unless he had a Paolo Berserker before that. If that Berserker was a Defector before, I think he would be dead already. So Shredded kind of realized that I might only get to level 8 until the very, very late game, and then Berserker is going to be a lot better for me to be able to survive.
He's close to a level 3 Frost Knight, but again, it's not the best thing, but it could still add just a little bit of pizzazz that he needs up against Kong, actually one of the higher up players here who has, again, his own Storm Shaman, and oh no, that AoE damage seems to be just too much. The level 3 Hell Knight, it's going through everyone bit by bit, but the attack speed slow.
Oh, it's so close.
Low health. He's actually getting the whacks. He's getting the smacks. And Shredded is able to make it hand in the air out of celebration. And now actually Bomeron drops below him down to 1 HP after losing against Archdevil.
Let's have a look at Shredded's item there on his Hell Knight. I do think it does have a Heaven's Gift, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
It does, so it must have actually evaded tons of those attacks, and with the help of the Warlock bonus, stayed alive with his Night Shields, of course, proccing during the duration of the match. So super exciting end there to Shredded's game, and he might even overcome Boomerang or Archdevil if he's a little bit more lucky here.
Potential Cinderella story at our doorstep, ladies and gentlemen, and see the Hell Knight can't repeat the exact same thing. This is against a, dare I say it, much easier opponent, Boomerang being the last place player in the lobby, still alive, that is. And yeah, he tore through them quite easily. Back over here on the Boomerang, he's getting torn through by Shredder on his own board, and that's going to be Boomerang out in 6th place, top 5 still remaining, but you want to get top 4 at the bare minimum in order to have eyes on the top prize. And as for an individual like Shredded, who has not done so well in the tournament so far, Chuck as well, they want to get even higher, but Chuck's board is looking pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And a fitting end there to Boomerang, Shredded, and Boomerang playing against each other, choosing who's going to go out in 6th place there. And as you said, it's important to get into top 4, especially for Chuck and Shredded being so low on the standings. They really need to start getting a few first and seconds to have a chance at that grand prize. But then again, there's a lot of money at these different positions in this tournament, so top 4 nothing to squander at either.
Nope, it's all about the first place, baby. And oh, Chuck, can he actually win this board against Archdevil? Level 3 Water Spirit still alive, but I believe silenced and cannot waveform away. Going to be taking a little bit of damage, and that helicopter coming in at the end is certainly nothing to turn your nose up at. He's still in 3rd place health-wise. Shredded and Archdevil below him, and actually Archdevil dropped below Shredded down to 2% HP after he lost to Jinsu, our top player in this lobby.
Yeah, one of the best things with Dragonite is definitely him being a human, and when he's transforming into a dragon, he's just going to stay there in backline. He's going to lock one unit down at a time, right?
Yeah.
He's going to continue to attack them, and he's tank enough also to survive a lot of the magic damage. So as long as he's alive, one unit's going to be locked down, and it's going to deal tons of damage.
So the positioning right now is being moved around because it's round 35. It's a neutral round, but we did just see on Archdevil's board before this happened that he put the Dragonite in the very front, and I know that other commentators at this event have kind of called that out as being a bit of a misplay.
Yeah, I think it is fine if you if you're almost only playing against other mage players, then you just want to get that in front and lock down a specific unit. If you're not afraid about playing against Beast Warriors or Knights, for example, then sure, you can put it in front. But Shred is still in there, so a little scared to put it in front.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's a God of Thunder picked up by Archdevil. What would he want to transition a unit out for this one? Perhaps the helicopter?
I'm thinking possibly
Flaming
Flaming Wizard,
yeah.
But the thing is that he doesn't have a Pirate Captain in his comp currently. So that means if he takes Flaming Wizard out, he's gonna lose his 4 humans. So if he does indeed trade that helicopter first against a Pirate Captain, he can take out the Flaming Wizard for that God of Thunder.
Well, up against Chuck right now, he's not faring very well. This might be it if the Dragon Knight cannot come in clutch. And the 3-star Water Spirit is more than enough of a tank, and that is going to be it for Archdevil. He is going to go out in 5th place, and actually Chuck also loses his own board to Shredded, dropping down to 4th. Shredded is now currently sitting in 2nd place on health, but Jinsu still far in the lead.
Ooh.
Look at this, though. 10 health, 9 health, 7 health for our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place players.
And this is a really good position for Shredder because he was so focused in the beginning doing his lost streak and is being rewarded.
Yeah.
If you survive this long as the Night Glacier players, you get so much stronger because all these players are going to drop more units into the pool, but not only that, they're going to drop more items in the pool.
Yeah.
And the one setup that uses items the best, it's Night Glacier. So Shredder is going to become stronger for each of these players that are gonna drop out.
Just look at the damage that the Hell Knight is doing out with each and every slap of that axe. Just removes even the God of Thunder from the game immediately. Chuck, though, he's not faring so well on his side of the board. It's just a level 2 Tortola Elder left against Shredded's 3-star Knights, and I believe that's going to be Chuck going... No! 1 HP remaining just by the skin of his teeth. The last remaining North American player staying alive.
You see what I'm seeing? I'm seeing a very close Dragon Knight 3 here.
Oh boy.
It is possible, but two-star Dragon Knights is also really good. especially against the other mage players, actually, because those are the kind of consistent damage with that
And the
silence.
splash damage silence, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, that you really want. So if it... Oh, wow, he finds a Tsunami Stalker 2-star, even better than Dragonite, as I was almost going out on a tangent about that one.
Up against Jinsu, though, 85% health. This player is certainly very, very strong. And a 3-star Storm Shaman. That went under all of our radars. The Ghost Ship comes in from the side of Jinsu and actually stops the Tortola Elder Ultimate from happening. But look at the 3-star Water Spirit running rampant, and the Dragon Knight as well. Silence doesn't matter. It's all about the auto attacks, baby. It's close, and it's going to be the Water Spirit coming on top of Kong on his own board. Loses to Shred. It's going to be Kong going... No, actually, no. He already took the damage. He is at 1% HP.
That was the best source I've ever seen in my life. The entirety of that game, together with the Flaming Wizard, continuously silent that 3-star Storm Shaman. Didn't get his spell off until there was only 2 more units left, netting Chuck that win on his side of the board.
Look at this, though. 2-star Dark Spirit. Shredded was the Cinderella story of this match, and the Dark Spirit is probably one of the single units that you can bring in to ruin his chances of getting second place, much less taking out Jinsu. Kongo, 1% HP. He needs any sort of advantage that he can get. He's at 10 units. That's the maximum that you can have. And up against Chuck, how is he going to fare? Chuck's side of the board. It's faring pretty well. It's a good Tortola Elder ultimate. And actually, Kong isn't doing enough damage. Yeah, this is going to be an easy one for Chuck to win. But Kong, how is he faring on his own side? He's going to lose and fall out.
Yeah, this is going to be it for Kong here. Unfortunately, didn't get to play against Shredder, which he did tech against with the Dark Spirit 2, alongside his Thunder Spirit turning on the Spirit buff. Water Spirit's going to be a lot more strong in that setup with that heavy burst damage. Shredder's still in there.
He's still in it, and he's actually close, semi-close to... Okay, he's not close, but he's making his way towards a 3-star Desperate Doctor. Can we look real quick at the items on the Carry Knights? That's good.
Buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Is that even better? I don't know. Okay, I think the Lightblade Knight's even better, but still, both looking very, very good. And when Chuck goes out and he gets those items, and also the items off of this round, I think Shredded has a real chance to take out Jinsu. We haven't looked too much at Jinsu's board, though, so if we can see that after this, to see what that's looking at, to kind of take stock of this endgame.
Yeah, his Jinsu's been level 10 since round 29, I think. So that's 11 rounds of potential epic 3-stars, like the Storm Shaman we see here.
Two 2-star Tortola Elders.
And I mean, yeah, this army is looking really, really strong, actually. As soon as he combines those Tortola Elders into a 3-star Tortola Elder, he's going to get to put in another unit onto the board. It almost feels like cheating at that point.
A second Dragon Knight that's already on his sideboard.
Potentially, yeah, for sure.
At this point, it is all going to be up onto the RNG of the Knight's Shield when it becomes Shredded versus Jinsu. I know I'm counting Chuck out already, but sorry, that's how it works. But let's see the strength of Jinsu's board as he fares against Chuck's attack. A lot of good AoE damage, a good shield on his side as well. The level 3 Water Spirit, though, standing strong, and the Dragon Knight as well. So Jinsu's board may not be quite as strong as we were thinking. It's just the 3-star Storm Shaman remaining, and I don't know if he can take on all of these units by himself.
Especially with that unit size. Have a look at Chuck, and Chuck is going to be the one going out as we expected in 3rd place. That's going to be more items to the rest of the other players. And Shred is going to just gobble those items up, being super happy as a Night Glacier player for sure.
Oh, that's a level 3 Desperate Doctor.
That it is. So Shredder should be looking at to go up to 9. There's no real reason to roll for other units.
What I will say, though, is that when we... A level 3 Tortola Elder, though, that's obviously going to take the attention away from the level 3 Desperate Doctor. I will say, though, Jinsu lost a couple of boards recently, but he lost them to the players that are already removed. I don't remember the last time we saw these two players specifically face off against each other, and that's what we're going to see right now. A separation from Shredded. They're going to jump in onto the back line. A nice Storm Shaman ultimate on both boards, and the AoE damage from Jinsu's board. It's looking a little better for Shredded on his own board, though, and I think in the end they are going to trade. No damage out of the way, but wait,
boss.
the level 3 Lightblade Knight, the raid boss, and he's actually going to turn it back. A 1v, what was that, a 1v6?
This is what I'm saying. That's consistent physical damage with those Knight Shields when you got 6 items on the stacked Lightblade Knight. It's almost impossible to kill as it doesn't take damage from most of the early bursts, and then he just stacks up shield after shield after shield, and at some point it's just too much.
What were those items? Were those items onto Storm Shaman or onto Pirate Captain?
I think the Storm Shaman also even has an ice armor at this point. He does, which is really strong against Glacial Knights, but it did have this last round even, so it wasn't enough last round, and Jinsu's kind of got to pull something out pretty quickly here because Shredded is going to climb in terms of power level. He has 2 more levels to be gained, and I mean, Jinsu doesn't really have anything.
The damage, though, onto everyone but the level 3 Lightblade Knight or the level 3 Hell Knight. How well can these players solo? I think Jinsu's going to survive on his own board, but Shredded's going to survive on his as well. It's getting a little close, but I think he has enough.
Yeah, that 3-star Lightblade Knight is just, if it doesn't get hit by that Tall Elder before it gets a shield, that's when it dies immediately, right? Does find the 3-star Shining Dragon. What is this stacked board from Jinsu? Is trying to just get every upgrade he can to kind of circumvent Shredded for becoming stronger as he's leveling up.
I don't know how much I like swapping that Dragon Knight for a Tsunami Stalker, especially being level 1. We can see how it fares, though. Granted, the silence that we were talking about, AoE silence for the Dragon Knight, is not super powerful against Shredded's board. Let's see how it works. So the Ice Armor immediately goes out. The Storm Shaman ultimate on both sides. And actually, this is looking really good for Jinsu on both boards.
Yeah, it did seem like the Tall Elder did get off an ult before Lightblade Paladin
Shredded
actually got his shield off, and that's going to be it for Shredded, as we talked about. What a game, and what a comeback from Shredded.
Still, he was looking at the win dead in the eyes, but Jinsu, you mentioned it, he was 2 levels above. That meant that Shredded still had room to grow. Jinsu's time was running out. You can just see the emotion on his face, the relief washing over him. He was able to finish out the win before he was taken over by Shredded.
Yeah, and I love what Joel just mentioned too. The comeback from Shredded, not only in the game, but today. He did not have the best start here, so he needed something miraculous. He needs miracles to happen right now.
Yeah.
And that might be the best description of what happened to him in that round. Because remember, he that Lightblade Knight.
Yeah.
My God. MVP.
Yeah.
MVP. Build Lightblade Knights. Just do it. If you guys remember, he faced off against Bomberon, and that's what it really came down to that moment where Bomberon actually got knocked out in 6th. And this, by the way, we have like a completely full crowd here behind us, and they're oohing and awing, and I love the reactions we're hearing from the crowd. But there was a moment there where Shredded was on the verge of being knocked out, and his Lightblade Knight by Bomberon, and his Lightblade Knight stayed alive and just barely took him out, knocked Bomberon out. And then Shredded goes all the way up to 2nd. It doesn't get more dramatic than that.
Well, that just goes to show the strength, but also the gamble of lose streaking into a powerful composition like a late game Glacial Knights composition. The issue with it, the reason why it's so risky, is because he was at 10 HP the entire time. He couldn't slip up once.
Right. The entire history of the Glacial Knight player from a lose streak is that you start off by losing tons of HP. You start to roll often at 5, trying to find those important 3-star units for later, and then you start to level, right? And at this point, you're just hoping and praying to dear God that you're staying alive long enough to find those 3-stars. And when you do, you get into the late game. And when you get into the late game, people are gonna start dying off. And they're going to spread their items. And that's where we really hit the stride into the late game. We really saw that with those 2 stacked carries being so impressive.
Yeah, just amazing play there. It worked out. And I'm looking over at the Chinese broadcast, by the way. Lucky is actually over there commentating, which I'm sure she's providing all the analysis on the Glacial Knights.
This is how you lose streak into Glacial Knights.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to get a translation of what Lucky's saying over there at some point. But here we see the match results there, specifically as we see Shredded in 2nd place all the way from the bottom. Ended up, barely knocked out Bomberon, who got 6th. Land not doing so well there, getting second. Seiko as well. Seiko getting first and then falling down to 8th. But just such a heavy, I think it was Dragon Mage. We had 4 players going Dragon Mage. So every game gets more and more curious, it's feeling like.
Yeah.
Of course, this brings us to our overall standings. This is a very important graphic that we're going to be looking at. As you can see, we're halfway through the day. 6 total matches. We're locked at the top. Jinsu and Kong both with 19, followed by Archdevil, Bomron, and Seiko. Chuck did a little bit well for himself there, getting 3rd in the last game with 6 points. So that's all you need there. But this is still wide open.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a lifeline for Chuck. The beginning of one.
Right.
He's not too far from being on the bubble of being top 4. But again, we're not talking about top 4 in terms of qualification because this is the final round.
Right.
You want to get first. Yeah. And I think there is still potential for everyone, even for who lands in last place, I believe. Even for Land, I think there is potential. For him specifically, he'll have to come out with multiple wins. We're halfway through the day, though. Still 3 games left. We're at 19 points as the top right now. That means anyone else can gain 19 or more points to try and catch up.
Yeah, still a lot of room to work with. And we're actually going to hear from Seiko here. Remember, he got first in the very first game, and then he started faltering a little bit. So let's hear from Seiko and hear some of his thoughts.
Yeah, it's been good. Everything is nice, organized, but I don't know. I'm still shocked that like my sensei Nudge didn't made it. Like I made a lot of friends, and I don't know. After each match, I can't be too happy because some of my friends are knocked out. So because I just see that the others are so sad that they didn't made it. And it's hard to be happy when others are like crying. Yeah, for the finals, the prize money for top 4 is so much more. But I don't know. I feel like I want the title for sure. So I don't want to make like a safe finish just for the money. I think the title is more important to me than anything.